What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, class swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys are feeling good. Had a good weekend and ready to get into it. I don't know. This week is gonna be a lot happening this week. A lot happening this week. So we'll get to it. We'll see. But this is how last week's candle ended. So we do have potential little bit of almost three bars. We got like 3+1 bar reversal. We'll see if that holds if we get more continued pressure. But essentially, we opened down here, closing last week right around there, and then we had all price action through here. So probably more of like a monthly type reversal we're kind of sitting at. The monthly probably won't work out exactly like that because you did have one extra day in uh in the week last week was to start off the new month, but we'll see. We'll see. We still have a potential retest. I think you got 6 green weeks in a row. Grand scheme of things, still a very small little pullback. And like I said, there's a lot happening this week with elections. We still got earnings coming out. We got some earnings before the bell. We got some earnings after the bell today as well. So yeah, I don't know. And then I got like a little I don't know. I feel like congested for something over the weekend. I don't know. I don't know if I sound normal or like a frog. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So wild beginning of the week. We'll see. Well, we got Spy. So Spy really just kind of chilling, hanging out. We are gapping up almost 40 cents. So grand scheme of things, not too big of a deal. I do have Friday's VPOC that's sitting at 571.98. So I'd want to take a look at that one to see if we could get above it. Otherwise, I do think there's probably a little bit more bearish feeling to the market. I think you got a little bit more bearish pressure of just selling until maybe we know who the president is. So the elections are tomorrow, means we'll find out in 3 weeks after the contested elections get all cleared up. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Yeah, by the way, for elections, I don't know if one candidate will move the market. I mean, obviously each one will have their own kind of reaction to the news of this person's president, yada yada. But if there is a contested election, which uh one can, it's very, very close right now in most states. I know swing states are very close, according to the media. Whether any of it's true or not, who knows? I have no idea. But I think if we get the contested, I think you'll probably have some kind of just lots of volatility tomorrow night or starting Wednesday morning, I guess. So futures, after hours, things like that. But I think there'll be some good volatility if a president is elected and it's clear and okay, it's either person A or person B. I think you get a lot more selling if you do get the contested election, by the way. So if Tuesday night comes and goes and we don't know who the president is and it could last a while, I think Arizona said it could take up to like 13 days for them to count. I don't know why it would take so long. I mean, you could vote for American Idol and they know within the hour, and you get millions and millions of people voting. So I don't know why it takes so long to count, but they said possibly up to 13 days after. We'll see. But if the longer we go without really knowing, I think that's when more fear starts to come in. I think that's when media starts going crazy, and I think that's when you might get that bigger pullback. Otherwise, longer term, I think still pretty bullish long term in the markets. But then we have after we figure out who the president is, I think we still haven't really seen the ramifications from Jerome Powell's 50-point rate cut yet, and I think that still has to work itself through the system. So we will see. For support, we do have support on Thursday, which we did kind of hold up. We dipped a little bit past it before, 571.03. The interesting spot about Friday's high of the day, that came in, retested a great spot, got pushed down. So very, very tight range on the SPY for today, until we could break either of those 571.11s or 572.04s, somewhere in that zone. That would get us more momentum. This still has potential to be a 3 bar reversal, and we just kind of make our way back to this 20 again. But for right now, it's looking like a little bit sharp with a little bit, I think, lean to the bear side overall. So we'll see how that plays out. We got the Qs Clarity says, don't curse us like that." Unfortunately, they don't let me have anything to do with the elections. Mm-mm. So I just sit here and just wait and react to what they do, and that's giving me a lot of material. Gives me a lot because they just nonstop. We got the Qs. Again, Qs are gapping down slightly, so a little bit different than the market, than the SPY, a little bit weaker. That being said, big resistance on this one, somewhere from the eight, the 487.76 zone up to like 488.14. So I would think if we could break out of this 488.14 zone, 488.15, somewhere in that zone, I think then you might gain a little bit of legs, but you got that 20 EMA coming. So I think the high of today probably puts us at like 490.81. Anything past that, or really anything past this candle from October 31st, Thursday's candle, I think that would set us up to pretty fairly bullish until we get the Black Swan in elections, and then tomorrow it's a whole different game again. Or Wednesday, I guess it would be a whole different game. So we'll see. But I'm looking at I think we still have more lean to the bear side for right now. I think you have a little bit more pressure to the sell side for both markets, and but probably leaning a little bit more to chop than anything else. All right, let's see. We got some tickers coming in. Dell was the first one that I saw, so let's see. We got Dell that is nice little gap up, not on earnings. They got news. They've been getting the inverse SMCI. So SMCI is still a big story. I think they have their conference coming up in today or next couple days, I think, for SMCI. Let's see if it's on the list. SMCI. November 5th. That's the one thing about SMCI. They've been burying their stories, their headlines in other news. So obviously November 5th, everyone's gonna be talking elections, and that's when SMCI is gonna be doing their get as little eyeballs on them as possible. The last time they announced I think their wasn't a split, but they were raising funds, diluting shares, was during the Nvidia earnings, I believe. So everybody's watching Nvidia, and then out of nowhere, SMCI snuck in to raise some capital. So very interesting timing, but Dell has been the inverse. So Dell, I think investors are kind of looking at that going, all right, that might benefit if SMCI gets delisted or is no longer available or some craziness happens. So SMCI we just looked at, that one looked like it was gapping down a little bit. Dell is getting the inverse of that one. Not a bad gap on this one. You do have resistance somewhere around 134.25. They're like the sussiest company ever. Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I don't know if they're all suspicious or they're just geniuses on when they release their stuff, but any bad news seems to be buried into big headlines. So we'll see. But good gap on this one. This is a retest. I think this one probably fades at open, but watch this level up at 134.44. If that starts to break, maybe we get some continuation. I think this one fades first. I think a better opportunity. Probably looking to get in long about $3 ish lower than from where we opened. So somewhere around 130.87. That would also be my target to the downside if you're going to play that fade. All right, we got Nvidia. Let me take off some of these lines. Nvidia, good gap up. Interesting gap up, actually. The news doesn't. The news is hopefully not loaded up on an Nvidia chip because news didn't load. Looks like that didn't go very well. But their gap looks a little bit better than their news on TradingView. Nvidia shares were up over 1% after S&P Dow Jones Indices said Nvidia will replace Intel in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Ooh. Gonna have to take a look at Intel right after that. Good gap on this one. Depending on where it opens, we're like a few pennies away from an amazing gap. I think this one does have the bullish lean to it. You're above the 20. It is Nvidia. Your targets, you're gonna have some resistance starting to come in. So maybe you get held up at 138.13. You got another one at 138.45, another mini one at 138.63. Ultimately, though, I think your targets probably run up to 139.64. You're gonna have a little resistance all the way through it. So maybe a little chop, but I would lean this one bullish. I'd want to see where this one opens. The high of this Thursday, October 31st candle is 137.61. So I think anything above that would be great. Clear out that entire Halloween scary looking candle. And then I think we have the room. Otherwise, you have a little bit of edge to the bear side at open. So this technically is a retest gap. You do have Friday's VPOC at 136.03. So see where this one wants to open. If we get an open higher than that Halloween candle, I think that's a decent, almost bullish gap and go, and you probably run. Anything inside that candle, I think you get that fade first with a great opportunity somewhere around this 136.03 zone. Not bad. You guys are pointing out coin. So let's take a look at Bitcoin first. Bitcoin pretty much struggled the entire weekend. Nothing too crazy. Longer term picture. This is still a decent retracement. We didn't get quite down to the 67,143. Would have liked that to happen. Otherwise, we ran into a pretty good resistance or support somewhere around 67,610. That one came in on yesterday's candle. We did find some bulls in that location. We are sitting right above yesterday's VPOC on this one. So for Bitcoin, at least, look for like 68,356 to hold. Otherwise, we don't have the same momentum in a bullish direction, but this is a decent spot for maybe some bulls to get interested, and maybe that takes a day or two. Maybe we just chop around here for a little bit and then we go. But we've hit most of the supports that I would have liked. I would have liked to see one more dip a little bit lower. Hasn't happened yet. But not bad. Otherwise, Bitcoin's just kind of hanging out. Coinbase got absolutely rocked after earnings, which we did talk about. Let me move some of these off. So we did talk about the earnings, maybe not as good as people might think they were, just with that kind of recent Bitcoin run. It seemed like too obvious that it would be good, but I don't think those numbers were actually recording. Otherwise, you got Coinbase. That one is looking still a little bit to the weak side. I do have a lower target. You're gonna have some support probably in this 178.90 zone, and then I think your immediate targets on this one take it to like 176.60. If that breaks, your next spot down is 172. 172 flat. And then after that, you got like 167.73. So I think we're running out of a little bit of potential reward to the downside. But I think it does head a little bit lower. It's not a great looking open. I think if you want to try to play this one, you do have Friday's VPOC somewhere around 180.69. And then I think I would throw my stop at least anywhere above 182.96. So that gives you almost $2 of risk. Probably put like $2 risk, and then you're looking for probably a 1.2, $3 reward down to this maybe 176 zone. But until we break this candle again from Thursday, which we just had a little resting candle, bears did slap this thing down after probably about a 50% retracement of that candle. It's a great spot to look to go bearish. And I think you get the continuation to the downside, maybe get a little buying out of the gate up into this 180.69, but I think that one comes lower from here. We will see. Big round trip on, was that Viking Therapeutics, VKTX. They came out with their weight loss drug. After hours went absolutely nuts. I think we got to like 91, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yep, this one popped up to 91.69, about that zone. This one, people were heavily expecting for them to come out with some competition, I think, to Ozempic. And I think they were expecting it to be some kind of news over a weekend. It's been a while of people kind of planning for them to release the information or come out with the news. So this is all premeditated news. I think after this full-on retest, I'd probably be looking to lean more bullish than bearish. I think the daily chart though has been decent on breakouts. Yep. Yeah, so on a daily chart, you do have resistance somewhere around 79.07. I think we could break that because the news is still there. Again, it is highly anticipated news, so there might be a few traps in this one first. But I'd be looking to go bullish on it. Obesity Week 2024 is going on this week. Oh, I'm glad we have a whole week to obesity. They used to just give us that Fat Tuesday where you just get to eat whatever. Now it's a whole week. I like it. Hmm. That means you could. That means we could eat whatever we want this week, right? I'm cool with that. That's fun. What a time. What a time. So obesity week. Expect some more news to come out. Eli Lilly would be the competitor, obviously, to this one. So Lilly, I would assume dropped. Yeah, so that's dropping, and we'll see if we get some continued weakness on that one. You're still again inside this candle from I think was it Thursday, Wednesday. They had their dip on earnings, so that's hanging out. You're at the lower end of that one as well. Maybe that's priced in at this point too. But Viking, we will definitely continue to take a look at. That one looks more interesting. All right, we got Tesla. Tesla's not holding up again into election. We talked about this one too. I think Elon actually talked about this one too. Believe it or not. Uh he was I think he was asked by Tucker, what happens if Kamala wins? Because you're kind of pretty much out there campaigning like a madman right now. And in not the same words, but he pretty much said, "Well, I'll be screwed if Kamala wins." Because he's so heavily in favor of one side, and probably any future bills and forgiveness or non-searches into companies would not really happen, or I guess would happen more if Kamala wins as opposed to Trump. So he's kind of all in on that one. You might have some nerves on this one. I do think if Trump wins the White House, and again, who knows, it could be a contested election, but that's probably where you do get your next pop on this one. Otherwise, I can't imagine there's not some Tesla Tesla fans, Tesla shareholders a little bit nervous into the election because if Kamala wins, I think this one probably takes a rather big drop on a Kamala win out of the gate. Longer term, I think fundamentals, I think profit, I think just how the business would be standard to running and making money and making gains and future and growth, robots, all this thing. I think it will be a buy the dip opportunity, but I think initial reaction of a Trump win is positive for Tesla. I think it's a Kamala win will be a negative for Tesla. So we will see. I'm not really liking this one too much in terms of resistance. You got 245.13. Would have liked to see that one hold. I do have a swing trade out here on this one as well. So we've been in it now for 2 days, something like that. 2 trading days, so nothing crazy. The next spot I'm looking to the downside for this thing to hold somewhere around 239.76. It is a retest gap. I think you have better risk to reward, I think, bullish out of the gate today. Probably you'd want to see maybe like this 242.18 hold, but you do have that pretty good resistance right there. So I don't know if I'd play this one in either direction. It is a retest gap. Maybe don't go bearish completely out of the gate on this one, but not a great open on Tesla. And again, if this one starts to come down, I'm looking for my next spot to hold somewhere around 239.49. We'll see if we get some bids in there. Otherwise, uh, not much really holding us back until, which would probably get stopped on the trade, but 230.08 would be the next spot down if we break some of that support. So interesting spot for bulls to want to step in. Do they want to step in ahead of a election that he has definitely made his point known? ANETs. Arista Networks. Not too much of a gap, all things considered. You do have earnings coming out on this one November 7th. So was that This Thursday? Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. This Thursday. Um, it is gapping a little bit. That is a retest gap. You don't have, I don't think, too much edge either way on this one. Otherwise, I think if you're going to try to go long, see if you get a pullback first. 393.79 would be my location. I'd have to be concerned about resistance on this one. 397.94 would be the next spot up. It is gapping up, and most things kind of gapping down, hanging out a little bit. So maybe you have a little bit more edge in the bullish direction, but there's a lot of resistance on this one too. So I'd be careful of this one, especially ahead of we had a quite the run up into earnings. On a swing trade perspective, good double bottom, but with those earnings coming out very shortly, a couple days, I don't know if the technical is going to matter as much on that one. TSM. And then JD wants to take a look at Palantir. So do I. TSM. Interesting gap up. Still inside day. You are at least opening above Friday's opening price. So maybe trapping some bears on this one. Other than that, you are opening to a heavy resistance, 194.74. If that breaks, I think that will take you up to like 190. If I'm wrong about the bearish lean today in the market, or a little concern, maybe some profit taking ahead of elections, and the market wants to actually go bullish, then maybe you get past that 195.77, or I'd be looking at that being kind of the high of the day, and then you still have your next spot somewhere at 197.02 if you get through it. But anything past this 190 really, yeah, 195.77. Now it's extra bullish momentum into it. China, the Chinese government has, I believe, some economical meetings this week where they're looking to come out with, or people are expecting some kind of stimulus news. So watch China stocks this week in general. I don't know if it comes out today, during their open hours or not, but I wouldn't be shocked that you start seeing some headlines from China coming in. People are expecting again some kind of stimulus, but they are a little bit of a wild card as far as when they put things out and how they do things. So I don't know necessarily that it's going to be a positive week for China or not. If they do come out with some stimulus, TSM is going to be one that benefits. Other than that, Baba, Baidu, JD, those guys would probably be the most direct uh, influence from it. Garmin. Oh wait, I forgot. Palantir first, then we go to Garmin. Palantir after the bell today. They have earnings. They've had a massive run up into earnings. They're expected to get 9 cents gain, just over 9 cents, 705 million for the revenue side. The earnings per share would be roughly in line to what they did last time. So that is a potential beatable number for them. And then they do have to increase on the revenue portion of things. Last time they came out, reported 678, so they need a little bit more on the revenue side. They did bring in another about 40 million quarter over quarter. So if you add 40 million to this number, that doesn't quite get you. So I think that revenue, man, you're close. You're close. They have to come in with a beat, I think, for this one to continue. Rather a strong beat, I would assume as well. Otherwise, anything in line, any misses are going to be rough for Palantir after the move we've had. Eventually, I do think it's a buy the dip opportunity, but that might set us off for a bigger pullback. For a day trade today, you're looking at $40.94 to hold as your support. Anything past that, I think you're probably looking at 40.04. However, with earnings coming out tonight, you might see a little bit of a bigger dip down to like 38.77 as people just rush to lock in some massive gains on that one. But yeah, earnings are going to that's going to be a fun one to watch, I think, after the bell. Garmin. Um, we got news on them. They had a really good earnings. November 3rd. So that's all old news. I don't really see any real news today on Garmin. It's been absolutely incredibly bullish. Nice gap up after earnings. This could be something that Palantir looks like too if they have good numbers. Quite the run up you had. If you beat and everyone's kind of being like, all right, it's a little high bar for Palantir to beat this quarter. But if they do beat it, you probably get that strong gap up, and then I think you get that profit taking coming in. So I think more or less this is profit taking. I think your targets to the downside probably about this 186.15. If that starts to break, you'd be looking for 182. It's a retest gap. Is this the best spot to buy it? Probably not. See if you get some buying first. If it wants to come all the way back to 197.99, that would be a good spot to try. That's a mile and a half away though, so you're kind of in no man's land at this point. SYY. Santilla says, I think Palantir will tank. It's possible. I don't know. I mean, I don't know about tank, but even a decent pullback could feel like a tank on that one. So we'll have to see. But yeah, if you got shares, but getting some puts, probably not the worst idea. SYY, Cisco Corporation. We've already had earnings on them. Cisco is maintained to overweight. We don't really have any new news on them, so I'm not sure why this is getting a gap down. Looks like their earnings came out October 29th. I don't really see any real news on this one, so maybe I'm missing something, or it's a sympathy to somebody else that reported today. Um, it does look like you're probably trapping a decent amount of bulls on this one. I think you're getting a little closer to that support. You got $7.62. No, probably a little lower. $7.58. We haven't really retested 69.36. Probably best bet at this point. So you just kind of wait until you hit that. If you want to try it long, you got all that volume above you at this point. And then anything really past, I would say 69.70. You don't have much in the way to save you until 65.35. So rough gap on that one. That is one trade. So a little sus. That is one trade. Oh, you're saying there's no volume on this one? Yeah, this one too. Yeah, maybe this one opens somewhere different, but um, for right now, I don't know. It looks like the real open to SYY. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But we only got like 12 seconds till this bell rings. David wants to take a look at Walmart. Did we do that one yet? Uh, Walmart's just hanging out. Nothing too crazy. Still inside day. You have your support. I think we're slightly below support, so that'd be a little bit more bearish out of the gate. 82.01. Wouldn't be surprised actually if we get that past. Look for like 82.20. There's your open. So we didn't even open in that location they were showing us. We'll see what happens. But inside day, fairly bullish long term. Not sure if we get too crazy movements on it. Other than that, YouTube, that is the morning opening bell. So unfortunately, I gotta disconnect again today, tomorrow, this week. I think it's gonna be a little strange on trading. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but be safe. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button.